I found my wife's burner phone wedged between the driver's seat and center console of her Mercedes, the one I'd bought her for our 10th anniversary. She'd asked me to grab her sunglasses from the car, and there it was, vibrating with an incoming text. The screen lit up with a message that made my blood run cold. "Can't wait for Cabo next week. Tell your husband you're going to that conference again." My name is David Patterson, and I'm standing in my driveway in Scottsdale, Arizona, holding evidence that my entire life is a lie. The phone kept buzzing. More messages flooded in from Jay in the contacts. I didn't need a detective to figure out what was happening. My hands shook as I scrolled through the conversation history. 3 years. She'd been seeing this person for 3 years. The same 3 years I'd been building my software company from the ground up, working 80-hour weeks to give her the lifestyle she wanted. The same 3 years she'd been taking professional development conferences every other month. I took photos of everything with my own phone. Every text, every photo she'd sent him, every hotel reservation. My legal background from my pre-startup days kicked in immediately. Arizona is a no-fault divorce state, but it's also a community property state. And I was going to need every advantage I could get. The front door opened. Vanessa walked out in her yoga outfit, looking like she'd stepped out of a luxury magazine. Blonde, perfectly tanned, carrying a $500 mat to a class that cost more than most people's car payments. "Did you find them?" she called out, smiling that smile that had convinced me to marry her 12 years ago. I held up the burner phone instead of her sunglasses. Her face went white, then red, then settled into something I'd never seen before: cold calculation. "David, I can explain. Save it." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "I've already photographed everything, every message, every photo, every receipt." She walked toward me, and I saw her brain working, trying different angles. The tears started, right on cue. "It's not what you think. He's just a friend. I was confused. You're never home. Stop." I pocketed both phones. "I'm going to a hotel. Don't call me. Don't text me. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow." "Your lawyer?" "David, don't be dramatic. We can work through this." "Your boyfriend's name is Justin Reeves. He's a real estate developer in San Diego. You've been to Cabo with him 4 times, Miami twice, and Aspen 3 times. Last month, when you said you were at your sister's house, you were actually at the Waldorf Astoria with him. Should I continue?" The tears stopped. The mask dropped completely. "If you divorce me, I get half of everything. Your company, the houses, all of it. Is that really what you want?" There it was. The real Vanessa. Not the woman I'd married, but the woman she'd become. Or maybe always was. "We'll see about that," I said, climbing into my Audi. "By the way, how's your sister doing? The one who doesn't exist? Because I called your actual sister in Portland last week to plan a surprise for you. She said you two haven't spoken in 6 months." I drove away watching her in the rearview mirror, standing frozen in our circular driveway, in front of our $4 million house, finally realizing she'd made a catastrophic mistake. The hotel room was generic and impersonal, which suited me fine. I sat on the bed and went through the photos I'd taken systematically. The evidence was damning. But in Arizona, adultery doesn't affect property division. What it could affect was spousal maintenance, alimony. And Vanessa had been a homemaker for the last 8 years, ever since she quit her part-time job at an art gallery. I opened my laptop and started digging. If Vanessa thought she could walk away with half of my company, the one I'd built from nothing while she was vacationing with her boyfriend, she had another thing coming. My company, Patterson Analytics, was worth approximately $42 million based on our last funding round. We had 3 major contracts with Fortune 500 companies and were projecting to double revenue this year. I'd founded it 7 years ago, 5 years into our marriage. Under Arizona law, any assets acquired during marriage were community property, subject to equitable division. But I had options. And I had something Vanessa didn't: attention to detail and a memory for dates. I pulled up our joint bank accounts. Over the past 3 years, Vanessa had spent roughly $300,000. I'd never questioned it because money wasn't an issue, and I'd been too busy building the business. But now, looking at the charges with new eyes, I saw a pattern. High-end hotels in cities where she claimed to be at conferences, purchases at men's stores, expensive dinners for two. She'd been funding her affair with marital assets. Our assets. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Is this David Patterson?" A man's voice, smooth and confident. "Who's asking?" "Justin Reeves. I think we need to talk." I actually laughed. "You've got nerve, I'll give you that. Look, I didn't know she was married until 6 months ago. When I found out, I told her we were done. She said she was getting divorced. She showed me papers." "She showed you what?" "Divorce papers. She said you'd already agreed to split, that you were just waiting for the fiscal year to end for tax purposes." "I'm not trying to break up a marriage, man." I thought. I hung up. My mind raced. Vanessa had prepared divorce papers without telling me? When? Why? I called my business partner, Andrew, who'd been my roommate in college and was the only person I trusted completely. "I need you to check something," I said. "Access to our corporate accounts. All of them. Tell me if Vanessa's name appears anywhere." The hotel room phone rang at 6:47 a.m. I'd been awake for hours, laptop open, tracking every credit card statement I could access. "David, it's Andrew." His voice was tight. "You need to hear this. Vanessa's name isn't on any corporate accounts. Thank God you kept that boundary. But I found something else." I sat up straighter. "What?" "She filed incorporation papers in Delaware 3 months ago. Patterson Consulting Group. The name's similar enough to ours that clients might confuse them. I only found it because I was doing a trademark search for our new product line." My jaw clenched. She's setting up a competing company? Or planning to claim she contributed to ours? "David, if she argues she was instrumental in building Patterson Analytics, even as an unpaid consultant, she could claim a larger share. I've seen it happen. There's case law in Arizona where—" "I get it." I rubbed my eyes. "Send me everything you found." "Already in your inbox. There's more." I called Tim Brennan. You remember him from law school? He's a family law specialist now. He can see you this morning if you're available. I checked my watch. "Text me the address." 3 hours later, I sat across from Tim Brennan in his downtown Phoenix office. He'd aged well, still had that sharp-eyed look that had made him formidable in mock trials. "Andrew filled me in on the basics," Tim said, flipping through the folder I'd brought. "This is solid documentation. The burner phone, the financial records, the affair timeline. But you mentioned something on the phone about feeling ill recently?" "Yeah." I shifted in my chair. "Started about 6 months ago. Fatigue, confusion, memory problems. I saw 3 different doctors. They ran every test imaginable. Blood work, MRI, neurological exams. Nothing conclusive. One suggested chronic fatigue syndrome. Another thought it might be early-onset dementia." Tim's expression didn't change, but his pen stopped moving. "And these symptoms, they've improved since you left the house?" I hadn't thought about it until you asked, but yeah. I feel clearer now than I have in months. "Where did these symptoms typically occur?" "Mostly at home. Sometimes I'd feel fine at the office all day, then get home and within an hour I'd be exhausted, foggy-headed. I started working from home more because I thought the commute was draining me." Tim set down his pen. "David, I'm going to suggest something, and I want you to hear me out without dismissing it as paranoid." My stomach tightened. "Go ahead." "In cases involving significant assets and infidelity, we sometimes see escalation. Spouses who feel trapped or desperate. You said Vanessa knows Arizona is a community property state. She knows divorce means splitting everything 50-50 unless there are extenuating circumstances. What kind of circumstances? If you were incapacitated, she'd have power of attorney over your medical decisions and potentially your financial affairs, depending on your existing legal documents. If you were to die without a will specifying otherwise, she'd inherit everything as your spouse. Even with a will, she'd be entitled to a substantial portion. The room felt colder. You think she's been poisoning me? I think you should find out. Go home when you know she's not there. Check your food, your supplements, anything you consume regularly that she has access to. If you find something, don't touch it. Photograph it in place and call the police immediately. This is insane. Is it? You said the symptoms started 6 months ago. That's around the time Justin claims he discovered she was married. What if that's when she realized her affair was at risk? What if she needed a new plan? I thought about the nights I'd barely made it upstairs to bed. The morning I'd forgotten a crucial investor meeting. The time I'd gotten lost driving to the office, a route I'd taken 5 days a week for 8 years. I have a security system, I said slowly. Cameras outside but not inside. Privacy thing. Get a hidden camera. Set it up in the kitchen. If she's doing something to your food, you need video evidence. Photos of substances aren't enough. A good defense attorney will argue you planted them yourself. I left Tim's office with a list of recommendations and a retainer agreement I'd signed without hesitation. His fee was $25,000 up front. Cheap, considering what was at stake. The spy shop was in a strip mall in Tempe, sandwiched between a pawn shop and a tax preparation service. The kid behind the counter couldn't have been more than 22, but he knew his equipment. You want something that looks like it belongs in a kitchen, he said, pulling out a catalog. Clock, smoke detector, electrical outlet. How long do you need it to record? Continuously, at least a week. Motion activated will save you storage space and make it easier to review footage. He showed me a wall outlet with a USB charger. This one's popular. Streams to your phone in real time, stores everything in the cloud. Nobody ever looks twice at a phone charger. I bought 2, one for the kitchen, one for the bedroom, and a clock for the living room. $800 total. I paid cash. The house was empty when I arrived at 2:15 p.m. Vanessa's Audi was gone. According to her public calendar, which she'd never bothered to make private, she had yoga at 2 and lunch with friends afterward. I had at least 3 hours. I installed the outlet camera in the kitchen, replacing the existing one near the coffee maker. It took 15 minutes to sync with my phone. The app showed a clear view of the counter, the refrigerator, and the cabinet where we kept vitamins and supplements. The bedroom camera went in the outlet beside my nightstand. The clock went on the living room bookshelf. Then I started searching. The supplements were the obvious place to start. I took photos of every bottle. The fish oil, the multivitamin, the vitamin D I'd started taking when the fatigue began. The capsules looked normal, but that didn't mean anything. I'd read enough true crime to know that pills could be opened, tampered with, and resealed. I checked the coffee. We used whole beans, ground fresh each morning. Harder to tamper with, but not impossible. The sugar bowl, the salt and pepper, the protein powder I mixed into smoothies. In the back of the pantry, behind the quinoa and organic pasta Vanessa insisted on buying, I found a small box I didn't recognize. Plain brown cardboard, no label. Inside were 3 amber bottles with typed labels: thallium acetate, arsenic trioxide, sodium fluoroacetate. My hands started shaking. I pulled out my phone and photographed the box from every angle. Closed, open, each bottle individually. I didn't touch the bottles themselves. Then I called Tim Brennan. "Don't move anything," he said immediately. "Don't touch anything else. Call the police right now. Tell them you've discovered what you believe to be poison in your home, and that you've been experiencing symptoms consistent with poisoning. She'll know I was here." David, She has poison hidden in your kitchen. This is beyond protecting assets in a divorce. This is attempted murder. Call the police. Now. I hung up and dialed 911. The dispatcher kept me on the line until 2 patrol officers arrived. I met them at the door, explained the situation as calmly as I could manage. One of them, Officer Williams, according to his nameplate, photographed the box and its contents while his partner took my statement in the living room. "You said you've been experiencing symptoms?" Officer Williams asked, pulling out a notebook. "For 6 months. Fatigue, confusion, memory problems. Multiple doctors couldn't find a cause. And these symptoms improved when you stopped eating at home?" "I left 3 days ago. I feel better than I have in months." He exchanged a look with his partner. "We're going to need to bag this as evidence and get a detective involved. This is beyond a domestic dispute." "What do I do now?" "Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" "A hotel." "Stay there. Don't come back here alone. We'll have someone contact you within 24 hours. He handed me a card. "Detective Lisa Brennan, Crimes Against Persons Unit. She'll be your point of contact." They left with the box sealed in evidence bags. I stood in my kitchen, my $4 million kitchen with its marble counters and professional-grade appliances, and felt nothing but cold certainty. Vanessa had been trying to kill me. The question was, how long before she realized I knew? The waiting is the worst part. I'm sitting in my hotel room, laptop open to the camera feeds I installed in the house. 4 different angles: kitchen, living room, master bedroom, home office. The motion-activated recording has been running for 3 days now, and I've watched Vanessa go about her daily routine like nothing is wrong. Yoga, lunch with friends, shopping. The performance of an innocent woman. But the poison bottles are gone. I checked the timestamp on the police evidence log again. Detective Walsh collected them 72 hours ago, which means Vanessa has either noticed they're missing or she hasn't. And I can't tell which possibility terrifies me more. My phone buzzes. Tim Brennan. "David, we need to talk about the criminal case." I mute the laptop feeds. "What's happening?" "Detective Walsh called me. They're moving slower than I'd like." Tim sounds frustrated. "The DA wants more evidence before they arrest. The bottles alone aren't enough. They need proof she actually administered the poison." "I was sick for 6 months. My medical records show unexplained symptoms that resolved when you left the house. Circumstantial. They need video of her tampering with food, or a confession, or testimony from someone who knew about it." He pauses. "Walsh wants you to go back home." My stomach drops. "What?" "Wear a wire. Try to get her talking. The cameras haven't caught anything yet because she's not poisoning food you're not there to eat. If you come home, resume normal life, act like nothing's wrong. You want me to eat food she's poisoned?" "No. God, no. I want you to be there so she attempts it and we catch her on camera. You don't actually consume anything. Throw it away when she's not looking, feed it to the disposal, whatever. But we need footage of her adding something to your food." I stare at the laptop screen. Vanessa is in the kitchen right now, making herself a salad. She looks beautiful, relaxed, completely at ease. How long would I have to stay? Few days, maybe a week. Walsh thinks she'll move quickly once you're back. Whatever her plan is, your recovery has probably thrown her off schedule. She'll want to accelerate things. And if she doesn't take the bait? Then we build the case the slow way. Financial forensics, witness interviews, medical expert testimony. But that takes months, and she could disappear. Tim's voice hardens. "Your call, David. But if you want her in handcuffs instead of just divorced, this is the fastest route." I end the call and watch Vanessa eat her salad. She's scrolling through her phone, smiling at something. Maybe a text from Justin. Maybe planning her next move. The smart play is to stay away. Let the lawyers handle it. But smart hasn't gotten me answers yet. I book a cleaning service for the house, something Vanessa will find normal since we've used them before. But I specify they should deep clean the kitchen, which means she'll have to restock whatever she's using to poison me. The bottles Walsh collected were backups, I'm betting. She'd keep the active supply somewhere more accessible. Then I text Vanessa. Coming home tomorrow. We need to talk about things like adults. 3 dots appear immediately. Then, of course. I've missed you. My skin crawls. The house looks exactly the same. I pull into the driveway at 4 in the afternoon, timing it so Vanessa will be home from her yoga class but won't have started dinner yet. I need to control as many variables as possible. She meets me at the door, and I have to admire the performance. Her eyes are red like she's been crying. She's wearing one of my old college sweatshirts, the one she used to sleep in when we first got married. Her hair is pulled back in a messy bun, no makeup. The picture of a grieving wife. David, her voice breaks. Thank you for coming home. I set my bag down. The camera in the entryway is hidden in the smoke detector, recording everything. We can't keep doing this, living in separate places, not talking. I know. She reaches for my hand, and I let her take it. Her fingers are cold. I've been thinking about what you said, about counseling. I'm willing to try. Good. I move past her into the kitchen. Have you eaten? I'm starving. I was about to start dinner, actually. She follows me, and I can feel her watching me carefully. How are you feeling? You look better. Yeah, whatever that bug was, I think it finally passed. I open the refrigerator, scanning the contents. Everything looks normal. Milk, eggs, leftover pasta, fresh vegetables. The hotel food was garbage. I'm ready for a home-cooked meal. Something flickers across her face. Relief? Anticipation? It's gone before I can identify it. Why don't you relax, she says. I'll make your favorite, chicken piccata. Sounds perfect. I head to the living room, positioning myself where the camera has a clear view of the kitchen. I'll just catch up on some emails. I watch her work through my peripheral vision. She moves around the kitchen with practiced ease, pulling out ingredients, heating olive oil in the pan. Normal. Domestic. Except my heart is racing and my hands are sweating and every instinct is screaming at me to leave. She pounds the chicken flat, dredges it in flour. Starts the pan sauce with butter and garlic. I force myself to type random nonsense into my laptop, maintaining the illusion of distraction. Then she turns her back to me, reaching for something in the upper cabinet. I shift my angle slightly. The camera should have a clear view of the stove from its position in the ceiling fan fixture. She's blocking my line of sight, but the lens should catch everything. She adds capers to the pan. Lemon juice. A splash of white wine. Her movements are quick, efficient. Then her hand dips into her pocket. My breath stops. She pulls out a small brown bottle, not one of the ones Walsh collected, something else, and shakes something into the pan. Just a quick movement, barely a second. Then the bottle disappears back into her pocket and she's stirring the sauce, humming softly. I got it. We got it. Almost ready, she calls out cheerfully. Why don't you open some wine? I stand on shaking legs and move to the wine rack. Pull out a Pinot Grigio I know she likes. My hands are surprisingly steady as I pour 2 glasses, even though my mind is screaming. She plates the chicken, spoons the sauce over it, adds a side of roasted asparagus. Brings both plates to the dining room table, where we haven't eaten together in months. Lights candles. The whole production. This looks amazing, I say, sitting down. The camera in the dining room light fixture is recording from directly above. Perfect angle. I've missed cooking for you. She raises her glass. To new beginnings? I clink my glass against hers. To truth. She doesn't catch the edge in my voice. Or maybe she does and doesn't care. I cut into the chicken, bring the fork to my mouth, and at the last second fake a cough. The bite falls back onto my plate. Sorry, something in my throat. Are you okay? She's watching me intently. Fine, fine. I take a long drink of water. Try again, and this time I let the fork touch my lips but don't open my mouth. Chew air. Swallow nothing. Delicious. You barely ate any. I'm savoring it. I cut another piece, push it around in the sauce. So, about counseling. I was thinking we could try that therapist Andrew recommended. The one who saved his marriage. She relaxes slightly, takes a bite of her own chicken. That sounds good. When were you thinking we could start? Next week, maybe? I pretend to eat again, then stand abruptly. Actually, I'm not feeling great. Maybe I'm not as recovered as I thought. Concern floods her face. Real or performed, I can't tell anymore. Do you need to lie down? Yeah, I think so. I head toward the stairs, leaving the full plate behind. Sorry, rain check on dinner. Of course, I'll bring you some water. No. The word comes out too sharp. I soften it. I mean, I'll grab some. You eat. I just need to rest. I make it to the bedroom and lock myself in the bathroom. Lean against the door, breathing hard. My phone buzzes. A text from a number I don't recognize. We got it. Clear video of her adding substance to the pan. Standing by for your signal. Detective Walsh. He's been monitoring the camera feeds in real time. I text back, she's going to check on me. Give it 30 minutes. Understood. Units are 2 minutes away. I splash water on my face and return to the bedroom. Lie down on top of the covers, fully clothed. Wait. 15 minutes later, Vanessa knocks softly. David, can I come in? Yeah. She enters carrying a glass of water and 2 pills. I brought you some aspirin for the fever. I don't have a fever. Thanks. She watches me take the pills. I palm them, pretend to swallow. You're sure you're okay? Just tired. I close my eyes. I'll be fine in the morning. She sits on the edge of the bed, and I feel her hand on my forehead. Cool fingers against my skin. You do feel warm. It'll pass. I'm sure it will. Her voice is soft, almost tender. Everything passes eventually. She stands, takes the water glass, and leaves. I hear her footsteps on the stairs, the clink of dishes in the kitchen, water running. Then, exactly 28 minutes after Walsh's text, I hear the doorbell ring. The doorbell rings downstairs. I hear Vanessa's footsteps moving across the hardwood floor, quick and light. Then voices, hers, bright and confused, and Detective Walsh's, measured and professional. I stay in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of our bed with my hand pressed against my stomach like a man in real pain. The wire is still recording. Everything is still recording. Mrs. Patterson, I'm Detective Walsh with the Scottsdale Police Department. May we come in? Of course, but is something wrong? Is David okay? The performance is flawless, genuine concern. A wife worried about her husband. We need to speak with you about a serious matter. Is your husband home? He's upstairs. He wasn't feeling well at dinner, so I told him to lie down. Should I get him? Not just yet. Mrs. Patterson, we'd like to ask you some questions about substances found in your home. A pause. I can picture her face, the slight tightening around her eyes, the calculation happening behind them. Substances? I don't understand. 3 bottles were removed from your pantry 2 days ago. Thallium acetate, arsenic trioxide, and sodium fluoroacetate. Can you explain why you had these items in your home? The silence stretches. 5 seconds. 10. I have no idea what you're talking about. Someone must have planted those. This is insane. Mrs. Patterson, your husband has been experiencing symptoms consistent with heavy metal poisoning for approximately 6 months. These symptoms improved dramatically when he stopped eating meals prepared in this home. That's ridiculous. David's been stressed with work. His doctor said, "We have video evidence from this evening showing you adding a substance to your husband's food. We'd like you to come with us to answer some questions." Video evidence? That's impossible. I would never. Her voice is rising now, losing its careful modulation. I hear footsteps on the stairs. Multiple sets. Detective Walsh appears in the bedroom doorway. "Mr. Patterson, how are you feeling?" I look up, keeping my expression pained. "Not great. Stomach cramps. Dizziness." Behind Walsh, I see Vanessa. Her face is pale, her eyes fixed on me with an intensity I've never seen before. Not anger exactly. Something colder. "David, tell them this is crazy. Tell them I would never hurt you." I meet her gaze. For 12 years, I've looked at this woman and seen my wife, my partner, the person I built a life with. Now I see a stranger who's been slowly killing me. "I can't do that, Vanessa." Something shifts in her expression. The mask doesn't crack. It simply falls away. What's underneath is blank. Empty. "You set me up," she says quietly. "The whole thing. Coming back here, the dinner." "Mrs. Patterson," Walsh interrupts, "you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney." "I want my lawyer." "That's your right. We're placing you under arrest for attempted murder. Please turn around and place your hands behind your back." I watch as Walsh's partner, a younger detective whose name I don't remember, moves forward with handcuffs. Vanessa doesn't resist. She turns, presents her wrists, and the metal clicks into place with a sound that seems impossibly loud in our bedroom. She looks at me one more time. "You're really going to do this? After everything I've given up for you?" "Given up?" The words come out harder than I intended. "You tried to kill me. I gave you 12 years. I played the perfect wife while you worked 100-hour weeks and ignored me. I smiled at your business dinners and decorated this house and pretended to care about your company's funding rounds. Do you have any idea how boring you are, David? How suffocating this life is? So you decided to end it by ending me? I decided to take what I deserved, but you couldn't even let me have that, could you? You had to win." Detective Walsh touches her elbow gently. "Mrs. Patterson, I strongly advise you to stop talking." But Vanessa isn't done. "How long did you know? When did you figure it out?" I don't answer. Let her wonder. Let her spend the next few months in a cell trying to reconstruct the timeline, trying to figure out where she made her mistake. They lead her toward the stairs. At the doorway, she stops and looks back. "The brown bottle in my purse," she says. "That's just the one I've been using this week. There are others. You'll never find them all." It's a final act of cruelty, making me wonder if there's still poison hidden somewhere in this house, if everything I touch is contaminated. But Walsh just nods. "We'll conduct a thorough search. Thank you for the information." Then she's gone. I hear their footsteps descending, the front door opening and closing, and finally, silence. Another detective, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes, comes into the bedroom. "Mr. Patterson, we're going to need you to come to the hospital. Even if you didn't actually ingest anything tonight, we should run blood work to establish your current toxicity levels." "Of course." "And we'll need the wire." I remove it carefully, hand it over. Evidence. Everything is evidence now. At the hospital, they draw what feels like a dozen vials of blood. A doctor asked me questions about my symptoms over the past 6 months, making notes on a tablet. A nurse sets up an IV for chelation therapy. Just precautionary, they say, to bind any heavy metals still in my system. Tim Brennan arrives at midnight, still wearing a suit despite the hour. "I came as soon as I heard," he says, pulling a chair close to my hospital bed. "They arrested her?" "About 2 hours ago." "Good. That's good." He sets his briefcase on the floor. The DA called me. With the video evidence and her statements at the house, they're confident they can make the attempted murder charge stick. She's being held without bail. She told them there are more bottles hidden, other poisons. Tim's expression darkens. They're searching the house now, every inch. They'll find them if they exist. And if they don't? If she was just messing with my head? Then she was messing with your head. Either way, you're not going back there. Not until the house is cleared and certified safe. I lean back against the pillows. The IV drip is cold in my arm. She said I was boring, that the life we built was suffocating. David, I'm not looking for reassurance, I'm just trying to understand. When did she decide? Was it 3 years ago when she met Justin? Or earlier? Has she been planning this the whole time? Tim is quiet for a moment. Does it matter? I think it does. I need to know if I married someone capable of murder, or if I turned her into that person. You didn't turn her into anything. She made her choices. She chose to have an affair. She chose to steal your intellectual property. She chose to poison you. Those are her decisions, not yours. The doctor returns with preliminary results. My blood shows elevated levels of thallium and arsenic, but nothing immediately life-threatening. The chelation therapy should help. They want to keep me overnight for observation. Tim stays until 2 in the morning, going over the legal implications. With the criminal charges, the divorce becomes simpler in some ways. Arizona allows fault-based grounds, and attempted murder certainly qualifies. The prenup will hold. Vanessa will get nothing. What about Justin? I ask. Does he know what she was doing? Unknown. The police will investigate that angle. If he was involved or had knowledge of the poisoning, he could face charges as an accessory. She showed him fake divorce papers, made him think we were already separated. That suggests she was keeping him in the dark, but we'll see what the investigation turns up. After Tim leaves, I lie in the dark hospital room and think about the brown bottle, about Vanessa's hands, so careful and steady as she added poison to my food, about the 3 years she's been doing this, slowly increasing the dosage, watching me deteriorate. My phone buzzes. A text from Andrew, my business partner. Just heard. Holy hell, man, I'm so sorry. Whatever you need. Word is spreading. By morning, everyone will know. My wife tried to kill me. My marriage was a lie. The life I built was built on sand. But I'm alive. That's what matters. I'm alive, and she's in custody, and the evidence is overwhelming. I close my eyes and wait for dawn. The forensics team arrives at 8:47 p.m. 3 people in windbreakers with evidence tech stenciled across the back. Detective Walsh leads them through my house like it's a crime scene, which I suppose it is. They photograph everything. The kitchen counter where I set up the camera, the pantry where Vanessa hid the poisons, the dining room where she served me 6 months of death. I stand in the living room, watching them work. My house doesn't feel like mine anymore. It feels like a museum exhibit, the home of a man who didn't notice his wife was killing him. Mr. Patterson? One of the techs approaches, a woman in her 30s with her hair pulled back tight. We're going to need to bag some items from your kitchen. Anything your wife had access to, spices, cooking oils, supplements. We need to test everything. Take whatever you need. She nods and returns to the kitchen. I hear cabinet doors opening, the rustle of evidence bags. Detective Walsh appears at my elbow. We're going to be here a few hours. You might want to go back to your hotel. I want to watch. It's going to be tedious. I've spent 6 months dying in this house, I say. I can spend a few hours watching you document it. He doesn't argue. They find the first additional bottle at 9:23 p.m. It's in the back of the spice cabinet behind the cumin and paprika I never use. A small amber bottle with no label. The tech who finds it calls Walsh over immediately. Looks like the wife wasn't lying about hiding more, Walsh says quietly. The second bottle turns up at 10:15 p.m., tucked inside a bag of rice in the pantry. Another amber bottle, slightly larger than the first. The third is in the garage at 10:48 p.m., hidden in a box of garden supplies I haven't touched in 2 years. They're still searching at 11:30 p.m. when my phone rings. Tim Brennan. I heard, he says when I answer. Are you all right? Define all right. Fair point. Where are you? At the house, watching the police tear it apart. Jesus, David, go to the hotel. There's nothing you can do there. They keep finding more bottles, Tim. She hid them everywhere. A pause. How many so far? 3. Plus the original 3 from the pantry. 6 bottles of poison in my house. Christ. Another pause. Listen, I've been making calls. I have a referral for a criminal attorney if you need one. Why would I need a criminal attorney? Because this is going to get complicated. Vanessa's going to have a lawyer by morning, and they're going to start building a defense. If she tries to implicate you in any way, implicate me? I'm the victim. I know that. But her lawyer is going to look for angles. They always do. I want you protected. I close my eyes. Of course. This isn't over. The arrest was just the beginning. Send me the name, I say. Already in your email. Guy's name is Robert Fisher. Former prosecutor, handles high-profile cases. He's expensive, but you can afford him. Thanks, Tim. Get some sleep if you can. We'll talk in the morning. He hangs up. I check my email and find Fisher's contact information. I don't call him tonight. Tomorrow is soon enough. They find the 4th bottle at 12:17 a.m. inside a box of tea bags in the pantry. The 5th at 1:03 a.m. in the bathroom cabinet behind my shaving cream. By 2 a.m., they've found 7 bottles total. 7 different hiding places, 7 opportunities to kill me. We're going to need to expand the search, Walsh says. Check the bedrooms, the office, everywhere. How long will that take? Rest of the night, probably. Maybe into tomorrow morning. I should leave. I should go back to the hotel and sleep. But I can't. I need to see this. I need to know exactly how thorough she was, how many ways she planned to end my life. They find number 8 at 2:47 a.m. in my home office, tucked inside a desk drawer I rarely open. Number 9 at 3:15 a.m. in the master bedroom closet, hidden in a shoebox. By 4 a.m., the count is at 11 bottles. 11. The techs are photographing and cataloging each one, documenting exactly where it was found, creating a map of my wife's murder plan. Mr. Patterson, Walsh approaches again. You really should go. We'll be here until morning at least. 11 bottles, I say. She had 11 bottles of poison hidden around my house. We don't know if they're all poison yet. We need to test them. They're poison. He doesn't argue. I leave at 4:30 a.m. The sky is still dark, but there's a hint of gray on the horizon. Dawn coming. I drive back to the hotel in a daze, my mind trying to process the sheer scope of what Vanessa did. 11 bottles. She didn't just decide to kill me on impulse. She stockpiled. She prepared. She created redundancies in case I found one or two. This was systematic, methodical, professional. The thought hits me as I pull into the hotel parking lot. This level of planning, this many backup options, it doesn't feel like something Vanessa would think of on her own. She's impulsive, emotional. This is calculated. Cold. I sit in my car, engine off, watching the sky lighten. Did Justin help her plan this? Did they discuss it together, figure out the best poisons, the best hiding places? Or was there someone else involved, someone I don't know about yet? My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. This is Robert Fisher. Tim Brennan gave me your information. I'm available to meet today if you need counsel. Call my office at 9 a.m. Asterisk. I save the number and pocket the phone. Inside my hotel room, I don't bother trying to sleep. I shower, change clothes, and sit at the small desk with my laptop. I need to think through the implications of 11 bottles. If Vanessa was poisoning me for 6 months, and she had 11 bottles hidden around the house, how much was in each bottle? How long would they have lasted? Was she planning to kill me slowly over years? Or was this a stockpile in case she needed to accelerate the timeline? The doctors said I was lucky to be alive, that the levels of toxins in my system were approaching lethal. If she'd kept going another month, maybe 2, I open a new document and start typing. Everything I remember about the past 6 months. Every time I felt sick. Every meal that made me worse. Every symptom. Every doctor's visit. Every test that came back inconclusive. I'm creating a timeline. Evidence. Not just for the police, but for me. I need to understand exactly what she did and when. The first symptoms started in late October. Fatigue, mostly. I blamed it on work stress. We were closing a major deal, and I was pulling 16-hour days. By November, I was having trouble concentrating. Memory lapses. I'd forget meetings, lose track of conversations. Andrew started noticing. He asked if I was sleeping enough. December was worse. Tremors in my hands. Nausea. I saw 3 different doctors. They ran blood tests, neurological exams, everything. Nothing conclusive. January, I was barely functional. I couldn't work full days. I'd come home exhausted, eat dinner, and collapse. Vanessa was so attentive, so concerned. She'd bring me tea, make me soup, insist I rest. Every act of care was an act of murder. By February, I was scared. Really scared. The doctors were talking about rare autoimmune disorders, possible early-onset Parkinson's, chronic fatigue syndrome. Nothing fit perfectly, but something was clearly wrong. March was when I started to recover, when I stopped eating at home, when I inadvertently saved my own life by becoming suspicious. I type until 8 a.m., documenting everything. When I'm done, the document is 12 pages long, a comprehensive record of 6 months of systematic poisoning. At 9 a.m., I call Robert Fisher's office. Fisher and Associates, a receptionist answers. This is David Patterson. Robert Fisher asked me to call. One moment, please. The hold music is classical, something by Bach. Mr. Patterson, Fisher's voice is deep, authoritative. Tim filled me in on the basics. Your wife was arrested last night for attempted murder. That's right. And the police are currently searching your home for additional evidence. They found 11 bottles of poison hidden throughout the house, as of 4:30 this morning. A pause. 11. Yes. Mr. Patterson, I'm going to be direct with you. This case is going to attract media attention. Wealthy entrepreneur, attempted murder, poison. It has all the elements the press loves. You need representation not just for potential criminal exposure, but for managing the public narrative. Tim mentioned potential criminal exposure. Why would I need that? I'm the victim. Because your wife's defense attorney is going to look for any angle to create reasonable doubt. They might suggest you poisoned yourself to frame her. They might claim you had a financial motive to eliminate her. They might argue the marriage was mutually toxic and you're both culpable somehow. I've seen defense attorneys get creative with less. My jaw tightens. That's insane. That's the legal system. I want to protect you from all angles. Can you come to my office this morning? I'd like to go through everything in detail. What time? 11? I'll be there. He gives me the address, a high-rise downtown, and we hang up. I have 2 hours. I use them to eat breakfast in the hotel restaurant and read the news on my phone. Nothing about Vanessa's arrest yet, but it's only a matter of time. My phone rings at 10:15 a.m. Detective Walsh. Mr. Patterson, we've finished the search. Final count is 13 bottles. 13. Two more than I knew about. Where were the last two? One in the laundry room, inside a box of detergent. The other in the guest bedroom, taped to the underside of a dresser drawer. Jesus! We're transporting everything to the lab for testing. We should have preliminary results in 48 hours. Full toxicology in a week. I'll keep you updated. Thank you. One more thing. Your wife's been arraigned. Bond hearing is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. You might want to be there. Will she get bail? Hard to say. Attempted murder is serious, but she has no prior record, strong community ties. Could go either way. I'll be there. After he hangs up, I sit staring at my phone. 13 bottles of poison. My wife didn't just want me dead. She wanted to make absolutely certain of it. The forensics team finally packed up around 3 in the morning. I watched from the hotel bar, nursing a whiskey I hadn't touched, as Detective Walsh sent me photos of the evidence bags lined up on my kitchen counter. 13 bottles. Each one labeled, cataloged, ready to bury Vanessa so deep she'd never see daylight again. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt exhausted. My phone buzzed. Tim Brennan. You still awake? He asked when I answered. Unfortunately. Good. We need to talk about something that came up during the evidence processing. His tone had that careful quality I'd learned to recognize. The one that meant bad news wrapped in legal strategy. The forensics team found financial documents hidden with some of the poison bottles. I sat up straighter. What kind of documents? Corporate papers, bank account information. Looks like Vanessa's been busier than we thought. He paused. How much do you know about Patterson Consulting Group? Just what you told me. She filed incorporation papers 3 months ago. Right. Well, those papers in the evidence bag show she'd already secured a business loan for $200,000 using forged documents with your signature. Tim's voice went flat. She also opened 3 separate bank accounts in the company's name. 2 of them show regular deposits over the past 8 weeks. The whiskey glass felt cold in my hand. Deposits from where? That's what I'm working on. But David, one account has $73,000 in it. Another has $42,000. The third is empty, but it shows transaction history. Looks like she was moving money in and out, probably to avoid detection. I did the math automatically. $115,000. Plus the $200,000 loan she fraudulently obtained in your name. Tim let that sink in. She wasn't just planning to kill you. She was already stealing from you. The hotel bar suddenly felt too bright, too exposed. I moved to a corner booth, phone pressed to my ear. Where was the money coming from? Still tracing it. But some of the deposits matched dates when you had major client payments coming in. I'm thinking she had access to your business account somehow. She didn't. I'd always been careful about that. Kept business and personal finances completely separate. Vanessa had credit cards linked to our joint account, but nothing that touched Patterson Analytics. Then I remembered. The accountant, I said. We use the same CPA for personal and business taxes, Gerald Winters. You think he gave her access? No, but she could have gotten information from him. Tax returns, financial statements, everything she'd need to forge convincing documents. I rubbed my eyes, feeling the weight of 72 hours without real sleep. She's been planning this for months, Tim, maybe longer. Which is exactly what we'll use to bury her at the bail hearing. His keyboard clicked in the background. I'm filing an emergency motion to freeze all accounts associated with Patterson Consulting Group. We'll get that money back, and we'll use this to show premeditation and flight risk. When's the hearing? Tomorrow at 2. Judge Brennan, no relation, is presiding. She's tough but fair. With this new evidence, I'm feeling better about our chances of keeping Vanessa locked up. More typing. Get some sleep, David. You look like hell in the photos Walsh sent me. Walsh sent you photos. Evidence documentation. You're in the background of a few, looking like a zombie. His tone softened slightly. Seriously, sleep. Tomorrow's going to be brutal and I need you sharp. He hung up before I could respond. I sat in the booth for another 20 minutes, staring at my phone, pulling up my business banking app. Everything looked normal. No unauthorized transactions, no missing funds. Whatever Vanessa had done, she'd been careful to cover her tracks on my end. But $115,000 didn't just materialize. She'd gotten it from somewhere. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Patterson? A woman's voice, professional, slightly hesitant. This is Kelly Wright. I'm an attorney representing Justin Reeves. I went very still. Why are you calling me? My client would like to speak with you. Voluntarily with Detective Walsh present if you prefer. She spoke quickly, like she'd rehearsed this. He believes he has information that might be relevant to your wife's case. Your client claims he didn't know Vanessa was married. That's correct. And he has documentation to support that claim. A pause. Look, Mr. Patterson, I understand you have no reason to trust Justin, but he's been cooperating fully with the police investigation. He wants to help. Help himself, you mean? Stay out of jail. That too, she admitted. But the information he has, it's about money. Specifically, money Vanessa told him came from her divorce settlement. The $115,000. What time? I asked. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock at the police station. Detective Walsh has already agreed to facilitate. Kelly Wright's voice relaxed slightly. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. I know this isn't easy. She hung up before I could change my mind. I finally went upstairs to my room around 4. The bed was too soft, the silence too complete. I kept seeing those 13 bottles lined up on my kitchen counter. Kept thinking about Vanessa's face when the mask dropped, that cold calculation in her eyes. You're boring, David. You've always been boring. 3 years. She'd been poisoning me for 6 months, stealing from me for at least 3, and sleeping with Justin Reeves the entire time. How much of our marriage had been real? Any of it? I pushed the thought away. Tim was right. I needed sleep. Tomorrow would be brutal. But sleep didn't come. Instead, I lay in the dark, running scenarios. Justin claiming Vanessa showed him divorce papers. Vanessa with $115,000 in secret accounts. The Patterson Consulting Group, incorporated 3 months ago, but apparently operational for longer. My phone lit up with an email notification. Gerald Winters, our CPA, responding to a message I didn't remember sending. Except I had sent it 3 weeks ago, asking for copies of our tax returns. I'd forgotten in the chaos of discovering the affair and the poisoning. I opened the attachment. Personal returns going back 5 years. Business returns for Patterson Analytics. Everything neatly organized in folders. And there, in the most recent year's personal return, a detail I'd missed when I'd signed the forms last April. Vanessa had filed a Schedule C, sole proprietorship income. $47,000 listed under consulting services. I pulled up the detailed breakdown. Monthly deposits, all from different sources. Corporate names I didn't recognize. Amounts ranging from $2,000 to $8,000. She'd been running a business for at least a year, maybe longer. I forwarded the email to Tim with a single line. Found where some of the money came from. His response came back in under a minute. Jesus Christ, call me when you wake up. But I was done sleeping. I got up, made coffee from the room's terrible machine, and started going through every financial document I could access from my phone. Bank statements, credit card records, investment accounts, everything. The pattern emerged slowly. Small charges I'd never noticed. $100 here, $200 there. Always to different vendors, always just under the threshold that would trigger my attention. Over the past year, they added up to nearly $30,000. She'd been stealing from our joint account too. Not enough to notice month to month, but systematic. Deliberate. My phone rang at 6:30. Andrew. "Tell me you're not watching the news," he said. I grabbed the remote, turned on the TV. Channel 12 had our house on screen. Yellow police tape still visible, a perky reporter standing in front of the driveway. Software entrepreneur David Patterson's Scottsdale home, where police arrested his wife Vanessa on charges of attempted murder. Sources say Patterson became suspicious after a mysterious illness that lasted 6 months, eventually installing hidden cameras that captured. I turned it off. "It's on every channel," Andrew said. "CNN picked it up an hour ago. You're trending on Twitter." "Perfect." "David, I'm sorry. I know you wanted to keep this quiet. Doesn't matter now." I checked my email. 47 new messages since midnight, most from reporters requesting comment. It was always going to come out. "What do you need?" That was Andrew. No drama, no useless sympathy. Just the question that mattered. "Cover the 10 o'clock meeting with Brightstone. Tell them I'll be back in the office Monday." I pulled up my calendar, started rescheduling everything for the next week. "And send out a company-wide email, something brief. Personal matter, being handled, business as usual. Already drafted, waiting for your approval." I smiled despite everything. "Send it." "Done. Anything else?" "Yeah. Find out everything you can about Patterson Consulting Group, who she was doing business with, where the money was really coming from." I paused. "And Andrew? Thank you. Always." He hung up. 7 o'clock. 2 hours until I met Justin Reeves. 7 hours until Vanessa's bail hearing. I showered, shaved, put on the spare suit I'd grabbed from the house. Looked at myself in the mirror and saw a stranger, someone thinner, harder, with shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there a week ago. Vanessa had tried to kill me, had been stealing from me for years, had built an entire secret life while I worked 80-hour weeks building a company I thought was securing our future. And now I was going to take everything from her. Starting today, the bail hearing went exactly as Tim predicted. Judge Brennan, a stern woman in her 60s with reading glasses perched on her nose, listened to the evidence with an expression that grew progressively colder. 13 bottles of poison, forged documents, secret bank accounts, video evidence of Vanessa adding substances to my food. Vanessa's attorney, a slick-looking man named Richard Kelso, argued for house arrest. Community ties, no prior record, the usual script. He never once looked at me. The judge denied bail in under 3 minutes. The defendant showed extensive premeditation, created multiple redundancies to ensure the success of her plan, and has demonstrated a clear willingness to commit violence against her spouse, Judge Brennan said, her voice cutting through Kelso's attempt to interrupt. She poses an ongoing threat. Bail is denied. Remand to county custody pending trial. I watched them lead Vanessa out in handcuffs. She didn't look at me either. The meeting with Justin Reeves that morning had been illuminating. He'd sat across from me in the police station conference room, looking genuinely shaken, and laid out everything. Vanessa had told him she was divorced. She'd shown him papers, forgeries obviously, but convincing ones. She'd been taking money from him too, claiming she needed help with legal fees from her contentious divorce. $30,000 over 6 months. She said you were abusive, Justin told me, unable to meet my eyes. That you'd threatened her, controlled all the money, isolated her from friends. I thought I was helping her escape. Detective Walsh had confirmed it all. Justin's bank records, text messages, everything checked out. He'd been a mark, just like me. Another piece on Vanessa's chessboard. The trial took 8 months to reach court. 8 months of depositions, forensic accounting, toxicology reports. The prosecution built a case so airtight that even Kelso stopped pretending he could win. They offered a plea deal, 20 years, eligible for parole after 15. Vanessa rejected it. She actually believed she could convince a jury that I'd somehow orchestrated everything, that I'd planted the poison, faked my illness, manipulated the evidence. Kelso tried to withdraw, but the judge denied his motion. He was stuck with her. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified for 2 days, walking the jury through every detail. The burner phone, the symptoms, the cameras, the 13 bottles hidden throughout my house, the stolen money, the forged documents. The defense tried to paint me as a controlling husband who'd driven Vanessa to desperation. They brought in a psychologist who'd never met either of us to speculate about coercive relationships. They suggested I'd been having an affair and wanted to frame Vanessa to avoid a costly divorce. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts: attempted murder, fraud, forgery, theft. The judge sentenced her to 35 years without possibility of parole for 25. I sat in the courtroom and felt nothing. No relief, no satisfaction. Just a vast emptiness where my marriage used to be. That was 3 years ago. Patterson Analytics went public 18 months after the trial ended. The company I'd built while my wife was trying to kill me was now worth $300 million. I donated a significant portion to organizations that support victims of domestic violence and poisoning survivors, a surprisingly large community I'd never known existed. Andrew became COO. We hired a security consultant to overhaul our personal safety protocols. I sold the Scottsdale house and bought a smaller place in Paradise Valley, something modern and clean with no memories attached. I never remarried. Probably never will. Some betrayals cut too deep to risk again. But I learned something in those months of being slowly poisoned. Those weeks of pretending everything was normal while cameras recorded my wife trying to kill me. Survival isn't about avoiding danger. It's about paying attention. Trusting your instincts when something feels wrong, even if you can't immediately identify why. I'd ignored warning signs for years. Vanessa's growing distance, her unexplained absences, the way she'd changed from someone who seemed to love me into someone who saw me as an obstacle. I'd been too busy building something I thought we both wanted to notice she'd stopped wanting any of it. Or maybe never had. The human capacity for self-deception is extraordinary. We tell ourselves stories about who people are, about what our lives mean, and we cling to those stories even when reality is screaming otherwise. I'd told myself I had a good marriage, a partner who supported my ambitions, a shared future worth working toward. I'd been wrong about all of it. But I'd also learned that the same attention to detail that built my company could save my life. That documentation matters. That trust without verification isn't trust. It's willful blindness. That sometimes the person sleeping next to you is a stranger wearing a familiar face. Gerald Winters, our CPA, lost his license. He'd been helping Vanessa hide income for 2 years, convinced by her tears and stories about a controlling husband. He never verified any of it. Just believed her and broke a dozen regulations in the process. Justin Reeves moved back to San Diego. We spoke once after the trial, an awkward phone call where he apologized again, and I told him we'd both been victims of the same person. I meant it. He'd lost $30,000 and nearly got charged as an accessory. I'd almost lost my life. The forensic accountants eventually traced all of Vanessa's money. The $115,000 in secret accounts had come from multiple sources. Cash advances on credit cards I didn't monitor closely, small transfers from our joint account, and payments from clients she'd convinced to hire her as a consultant by using my reputation and forged references. She'd been planning her exit for at least 2 years, building a nest egg she could access after I was dead and she'd inherited everything. The irony was that if she'd just divorced me normally, she'd have walked away with millions. Community property in Arizona is split 50-50. She would have been set for life. But that wasn't enough. She wanted everything, and she wanted me gone. Sometimes I wonder if she regrets it. If she sits in her cell and thinks about the life she could have had if she'd just been honest, just asked for a divorce, just been a decent human being. But I don't wonder too often. She made her choices. She lives with the consequences. I made choices too. I chose to pay attention when something felt wrong. I chose to document everything. I chose to protect myself instead of giving her another chance to finish what she'd started. Those choices saved my life. I'm 47 now, healthier than I've been in years. The chelation therapy worked, and my annual physicals show no lasting damage from the poisoning. I run 5 miles every morning, eat carefully, and maintain a small circle of people I actually trust. The company continues to grow. We're developing new analytics software that's revolutionizing how corporations handle data security. Ironic, given that I couldn't see the threat in my own home. But that's the thing about life. The lessons come whether you want them or not. You can either learn from them or let them destroy you. I chose to learn. Last week, I received a letter from Vanessa. The prison forwarded it to my attorney, who forwarded it to me with a note. You don't have to read this. I read it anyway. She wanted me to know she was sorry, that she'd been confused, desperate, not thinking clearly, that she never meant for things to go so far, that she hoped I could forgive her someday. I read it twice, then shredded it. Some things don't deserve forgiveness. Some betrayals are too fundamental, too calculated, too complete. She'd looked me in the eye for 6 months while slowly killing me. She'd kissed me goodnight and brought me tea, and asked about my day while planning my funeral. That's not confusion. That's not desperation. That's evil wearing a wedding ring. I don't hate her anymore. Hate requires energy I'd rather spend elsewhere. But I'll never forgive her, and I'll never forget what she was capable of. The best revenge, they say, is living well. By that measure, I've won completely. My company thrives. My health is restored. I have friends who actually care about me, not just what I can provide. I sleep soundly in a house with no hidden poisons, no secret cameras, no need to wonder if my next meal might kill me. Vanessa has 22 years left before she's eligible for parole. She'll be 68 years old. Her beauty will be gone, her youth wasted, her freedom a distant memory. I don't take pleasure in that, but I don't mourn it either. She made her choice. I made mine. We both live with the results. And if there's a moral to this story, it's simple. Pay attention. Trust your instincts. Document everything. And when someone shows you who they really are, when the mask finally slips and you see the calculation underneath, believe them. Your life might depend on it. Mine did.